Everyone. This is Amir Tsarfati live from Miami, Florida. And there's a lot of breaking news, as you know. I just wanted to give you a picture of what happened today in Kabul and try to uh, put some order in the mess. I'll wait for you to connect, and so it'll be easier. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, but I'll try to report as much as I can. If you're not on Telegram, you're missing out everything because this is where I can report videos and pictures and, of course, information. But I've got a lot to talk about in regards to the situation in Kabul and other things. So we'll start by saying this right now. Today, there was a major terror attack a few hours ago in Kabul. Two different suicide bombers exploded, one next to the Baron Hotel and the other one next to the Abbey gate to the airport. Unfortunately, as you all know, at least 10 American soldiers got killed, 20 more were injured. And when it comes to the Afghan civilians, the reports, I mean, I've seen the footage. It's horrific carnage there. We're talking about dozens of dead people and at least 150 injured. But there was a third explosion a few minutes ago. The third explosion most likely was an attack on a Taliban vehicle. Because remember, we've got two different wars going on in Afghanistan simultaneously. One war is the war of the Taliban against its own government, of the Afghan government, and the American enablers of that government. So the US forces and the other forces. But the other war is between those that are against the Taliban and the Taliban. So two different wars, and Kabul is now that center point where everything is happening. So there is a new terror organization that split out of ISIS, and it's called ISIS-G. It's very interesting. It's a different split from ISIS. They are the locals in Afghanistan. They are not operating on behalf of the worldwide ISIS, but they have their own thing. Sunni militant organization. They want to avenge all the stuff that was done to ISIS by America and others. They released a threat to America. If I'm not mistaken, it was yesterday. They released a threat to the British and the American soldiers that they are going to attack. That threat made it to the Pentagon and to the British Defense Ministry. And I know that it made it because the British Defense Minister admitted hours before the explosion that there is going to be an explosion within a matter of hours. So they knew it's coming. And then, of course, came the suicide bomber. And at the gate where there's mostly American soldiers, they detonated themselves. And it was a huge explosion. And on the spot, the American soldiers were right there together with scores of Afghans. They were killed on the spot and many, many wounded people. At the same time, and this is very typical to ISIS, at the same time, there was another suicide bomber that exploded next to the Baron Hotel, where most of the people with a little bit more means are residing, and those that wants to leave Afghanistan. So it was an attack on US forces, British forces, as well as those who wants to leave Afghanistan because it's like they align themselves with the Americans and British, so they deserve to die. So this is the first attack, and that happened a few hours ago. And the US and the British forces knew about it. They knew that it's going to happen. Now, why is it that the area was not cleared? Why is it that the US troops were not kept inside and not outside of the gate? Why is it that things were not done? It's not for me to ask those questions. All I can say is that the information about this suicide bombing not only was given to the US and British forces by the Taliban, but also in other chains of commands. And I can tell you, folks, that hours before this suicide bombing, again, the knowledge that a suicide bomber is about to come was there. I know that because even the British defense minister admitted hours before that within a matter of hours, there's going to be an explosion. I mean, this is the first time I ever see an official admitting that within hours there's going to be an explosion, and yet almost nothing has been done. Now, the third explosion from few minutes ago, again, is the second war that is going on in Afghanistan. That's the war of the rebels against the Taliban. So, again, there's two different wars going on. The war to kick America out and to kick all the Western civilization out and to make it a Sharia law country. That's the war that the Taliban is, of course, waging. But then there's the war of those that are against the Taliban, and they are attacking the Taliban forces. These two wars are catching the Afghan people, the innocent people, in between. And I cannot sleep at night from what I watch. The videos and the footage that I get from my sources on the ground there are horrific. Besides the fact that mothers gave their babies to the soldiers, the sights are just heartbreaking of how people are begging in tears to enter into the compound of the airport. The airport is filled with US, German, British soldiers. If I'm not mistaken, there are several Canadians. But there are other nationalities that are sending airplanes, such as the Philippines, Italy, Japan. They're all sending their own airplanes to evacuate. And this morning, again, it's this morning my time, but it was already late afternoon Cabul time, an Italian cargo plane, military cargo plane, was also attacked with many people on board. Thankfully, it didn't crash and people didn't die, but it was almost the case. The airport is not safe. The U.S. Is admitting that it has to finish its evacuation within 36 hours and leave. It is going to leave at least 10,000 Americans behind, just so you know. The Biden administration sent the CIA chief to strike a deal with the Taliban. Listen to this, folks. Listen to this. Because the Taliban is right now preventing everyone from approaching the airport. Whoever is not at the airport already cannot make his way to the airport. And that's the case of thousands of Americans and tens of thousands of Afghans that need to leave. And so what happened is, the U.S. is right now they're working on a deal, it's not yet done deal, to pay the Taliban. Forget about the hundreds of millions or billions worth of weapons that America left behind. We're talking about right now, America is about to pay the Taliban tens of millions of dollars. And they're going to call it international aid or some humanitarian aid. And they're going to pay the Taliban almost up to $100 million in order to allow the Americans to access the airport so they can be evacuated. What you're watching right now is a hostage situation where a deal is about to be broken. And the deal is about to be signed. This is beyond crazy. And I just don't have words. Right now, everybody understands, as far as the terrorist organizations, that this is the right time to hit America. Because America, look, it's 5,200 U.S. soldiers within a small compound. They're sitting ducks, basically. And they will not go out to protect themselves. They cannot. They can only defend themselves from within. So they're like sitting targets right now. And I can tell you that I am praying and hoping that no more casualties will take place there for the U.S. Soldiers. But I can tell you it's definitely not looking like that. So what I'm trying to say is this: there are two wars going on in Afghanistan right now. The war of the Taliban trying to kick America out, and in the meantime, they act as we are the responsible adult. We warn you that there's going to be a suicide attack, and you're still here. So they're trying to say, hey, we didn't do it. Somebody else did it. We told you it's going to happen. And the second war that is going on right now is the rebels against the Taliban that are fighting the Taliban. And again, everything is happening within Cabul right now. The third explosion from a few minutes ago is an explosion of a Taliban vehicle that a magnetic bomb basically exploded, and that's it. So again, at least 10,000 U.S. citizens are trapped in Afghanistan. The U.S. government is trying to strike a deal to allow them access to the airport. And we're talking about paying ransom, literally paying ransom, because the CIA chief is right now in Afghanistan trying to strike a deal with the Taliban, paying them tens of millions, if not more, for what? To allow access to the airport of Americans. Because right now, the Taliban is very smart. He says, we can make tons of money from it. Let's not allow anyone to the airport. And this is what's going on right now. Again, in the earlier explosion, which was done by a faction of ISIS that it's called ISIS-K. It's a different organization that came out of ISIS. And they sent a threat yesterday. The British and the Americans knew about it. The Taliban also told America there's going to be an explosion. The British defense minister told Sky News this morning, within a matter of hours, there's going to be an explosion. I mean, everything. It's almost like a script that everybody followed. And then, of course, came the explosion. At least 10 U.S. servicemen got killed. 20 are injured. But from the videos that I saw of the Afghans, dozens of bodies are floating even in the sewage over there next to the airport. It's horrible, horrible scenes, carnage over there. And now a third explosion. So again, this morning, 2 explosions, 2 suicide bombers, one next to the Baron Hotel and one next to the Abbey Gate into the airport. It's the airport gate explosion that killed most of the U.S. soldiers. But again, I want you to know that the Afghan people are finding themselves in between 2 different wars. The war that the Taliban is waging against America, and the war that those that oppose the Taliban are waging against the Taliban. And in between are the very, very poor Afghans. I'll give you more updates as I can, as I can when I know more. But again, hostage negotiation basically is going on right now. And as a deal will be struck between the head of the CIA and the head of the Taliban, Baradar, excuse me. It's very, very sad. This is very, very sad. This is a picture of a declining empire, and that's all I can say.